6 of the remaining Democratic presidential candidates are set to debate tomorrow night in Nevada. And as Lisa Desjardins reports, there will be a new face on stage.
After mounting calls for Michael Bloomberg to have to debate his opponents directly,
I can't beat him on the airwaves, but I can beat him on the debate stage.
You're going to get a chance to debate him on everything from redlining to stop and frisk to a whole range of other things.
2020 Democrats will get their chance tomorrow night in Las Vegas during the 9th Democratic debate, which will be Bloomberg's first. The former New York City mayor qualified for the debate after hitting 19% support in a new national PBS NewsHour NPR Marist poll out today. Another headline in that poll, Bernie Sanders has a hefty double-digit lead. Other Democrats, including those with strong showings in Iowa and New Hampshire, fell behind, like former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who criticized Sanders at a town hall in Las Vegas.
The politics that says if you don't agree with me 100% of the time, you don't even belong. That's clubbing people over the head, telling them you got to be just all the way over to the edge like us.
The in-person campaigning is battling a tidal wave of TV ads, especially from Bloomberg. He's funded a nearly $420 million ad blitz with his own fortune. Bloomberg's record has come under fire in recent days for his past comments on stop and frisk policing policies targeting minorities and his treatment of women at his company. Now, several news outlets have surfaced Bloomberg's 2011 NewsHour interview with Jeffrey Brown about a program for young minority men.
There's this enormous cohort of Black and Latino males aged, let's say, 16 to 25, that don't have jobs, don't have any prospects, don't know how to find jobs, don't know what their skill sets are, don't know how to behave in the workplace.
That's the other undeniable dynamic, the importance of diversity. Some 40% of Nevada caucus goers in 2016 were people of color, and candidates are directly appealing to them now.
Democrats are supposed to represent working people. Democrats are supposed to represent Black people and Latinos.
The hopefuls face off again when the state holds its caucuses this Saturday. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins.
And for a closer look at the results from that latest PBS NewsHour NPR Marist poll and what those numbers mean for the state of the 2020 race, I am joined now by Domenico Montanaro. He is the senior political editor at NPR, and we welcome you back to the program.
Thank you, as always.
So let's look at these numbers. Domenico, we're going to put the numbers of this NewsHour NPR Marist poll up. As we just mentioned, Bernie Sanders on top, 31%. Michael Bloomberg shooting up into second place. What do you see with these numbers?
Well, the key here, it's pretty remarkable. You see Bloomberg having spent more than $300 million. We're hearing over $330 million now from Ad Analytica. And what he's been able to do is flood the airwaves, quite literally, build his profile, and he's gained 15 points in our polling since December, the last time we asked that. He's leapfrogged right over Joe Biden, the former vice president, who had been, the far and away poll leader for a long time. And remember, when I would come on and talk about how national polls, they don't really matter all that much. You got to look at the states and those things will move. That's what's happened here. And you see Warren down, Pete Buttigieg really surprisingly at 8%, down 5 points after two very good showings. A lot on the line in Nevada and South Carolina for him.
It's interesting because Pete Buttigieg, just as one example, came in first, just barely ahead of Sanders in Iowa, did well right behind Sanders in New Hampshire, but that's not reflected here.
He is the pledged delegate leader, and he's at 8% in the national polling.
Right.
And the reason why national polls start to matter a little bit more now is because we're only a couple weeks away from Super Tuesday, March 3rd, when 14 states are going to hold contests. You're going to have more than a third of all the delegates at stake up for grabs in one single day. It really is like a national primary, and you have Mayor Bloomberg having advertised in all of those states, spending all that money, and he can do it at will because he's worth billions.
The other interesting thing, in fact, there are several interesting things to look at, but Amy Klobuchar, here's somebody who did better than expected in both Iowa and New Hampshire, but you see her in single digits in this.
Well, look, if you add up Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Biden, and Bloomberg together, they get to about 51%. You add up Sanders and Warren for that progressive lane, you're at about 43%. So you see that there's this filter where they're really sort of struggling to get out of each other's way. Klobuchar and Buttigieg in particular need to distinguish themselves because they've had a very difficult time breaking through with voters of color. You have 2 states in Nevada and South Carolina where overwhelmingly you're going to see way more voters of color, way more diverse states. 41% in 2016 in Nevada were non-white in the Democratic electorate, and in South Carolina, 2/3 non-white, 61% African American. They're only at 4% and 3% respectively in our poll with black voters. They got to do better than that if they want to win the nomination.
Well, speaking of African American voters, Domenico, former Vice President Biden was doing very well, has been doing very well in South Carolina. Here's somebody who was leading in almost every single national poll.
That's right.
And here you see now there have been a couple of polls, including this one out today, that shows him running third and at 15%. Now, this is a Nevada poll,
Nevada.
which has him down a little bit, still in second place.
Right.
But how do you account for what's happened to Vice President Biden?
Look, Biden still has support of African Americans. In our poll, he has 31% of the black vote. Bernie Sanders, though, right on his heels at 28%. So margin of error difference, really, between the two of them. I think that's the most undertold story of this entire election is how much Bernie Sanders has been able to win over voters of color, especially voters of color under 45. Voters under 45 generally, it's like no other candidate exists. He's got more than half of voters under 45 in our polling. And, you know, Biden was somebody who promised he could win over those working class white voters, and he couldn't do it in a place like New Hampshire, and it makes his electability case very difficult.
So much volatility, so much change, so much to watch.
Yep, absolutely.
Domenico Montanaro, NPR, thank you very much.
You're welcome.